Hi, this is Ryan Neal from the USA offices of Neal's Saddlery and Harness, Cowboy Sewing Machines, and High-Tech Sewing Machines. And today we're going to do a feature video on our 750SH servo motor. The 750SH servo motor is quite possibly the slowest speed, highest horsepower motor that's available in the market today. It has the capability of delivering bone-crushing horsepower and torque at an incredibly low RPM. The full range of RPM on this machine or on this motor is between 50 and 2,500 RPM. And again, you can set it down to the slowest possible setting and it still generates an incredible amount of punching power, horsepower, and torque. Now, a lot of people ask, what's the difference between a motor like this and some of the other common servo motors that I can buy on discount websites for $100 or so? To give you an example of the differences that exist between the 750SL and a motor such as this, which is a common servo motor that you can buy on the discount websites for $100, $120. If you look at the first thing that stands out is the difference in the size of the motor winding. If you look at the motor winding on the 750SL, it is much, much larger, nearly twice the size of the motor winding that's on this common $120 servo motor. So you can see there's a huge difference in the amount of copper, the amount of neodymium magnets, and so forth that are in this motor versus this motor. The second thing that stands out is the mounting bracket for the 750SL. If you look at the 750SL mounting bracket versus the common mounting bracket that's on this motor, there's a huge difference in the, number one, the quality of the alloy that's being used, the quality of the casting, and also the strength and rigidity. So you can see the 750SH servo motor utilizes a very, very powerful, very strong bracket. And of course it has to, because this motor generates an incredible amount of horsepower and torque. Next, we're going to take a look at the speed controller boxes for these two motors. And you can see in the video, now first off, you'll notice that these levers are nearly identical as well as the springs. But if you look at the overall thickness of these boxes, as well as the size difference vertically, you can see that the 750SH motor box is built to a much higher standard and is also larger. The reason for that is we have a lot more electronics inside this control box as compared to what you would see with a control box for a lower grade motor. So this allows for a much higher degree of speed control throughout the range of speed on this motor. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the needle positioner system that's on the 750SH. And this is the needle positioner sensor that fits on the 750SH. And you can see it's a very nice design, very clean, but it's also very large. The reason why the needle positioner sensor is very large is that we've got an absolute ton of electronics and options inside this needle positioner sensor. We have independent wheels which allow you to individually adjust either the needle up or the needle down position. And then of course you can see we have high sensitivity magnetic sensors underneath here that allow us to be able to adjust needle up or needle down. You can also look at the printed circuit board that these magnetic sensors are attached to and see that it's a fairly sophisticated circuit board, much more so than any of the other lower grade motors that are on the market. All of these things allow you to have precise control when you're setting your needle up and needle down positions with this sensor. Now let's compare that to the common needle positioner sensor that's on some of the lower end motors that are in the market. You can see that the electronics that are used in this, as well as the magnet or the magnetic sensor, is much more primitive. So a needle positioner like this is not going to afford you the same degree of control that you're going to have with a needle positioner such as what's on the 750SH. So now I'm going to talk about the last feature that has made these motors very, very popular in the market. And that is what we call the encoding unit. And this is a takeoff of the encoding unit that fits on the end of this motor. Now, what's unique about the encoding unit that we have on this motor is that it is a 600 position indexing sensor, which actually mounts directly right here, back behind, a 600 position sensor that mounts behind this printed circuit board. The sensor works off of a light system, so it's a positioning sensor that works upon a photoelectric cell. Now, the difference between a motor or a positioner system like this, encoding system like this, versus what we would have on a motor like this, is that we do have the 600 individual indexing positions. That allows this motor to stop in a very precise position. We have 600 different positions to choose from where this motor can decide where it wants to stop when you let your foot off the gas. The other advantage is at low speed operation, the communication between this encoding device and this control box allows this motor to maintain a much slower rate of speed, number one, and also allows it to be incredibly smooth. So that's the reason why a motor like this is able to run very, very smoothly at a low rate of speed versus something like this motor. Now this motor has a very basic encoding system in it that only allows for 18 indexable positions versus the 600 indexable positions over here. So as a result, this motor is much smoother than the low-end servo motors that are available on the market. The last thing I'd like to show is the control box for the 750SH servo motor. And you can see we have a plethora of options here that you can choose for add-ons, accessories, and attachments. This motor has the ability to run a automatic presser foot lifter as well as an automatic reverse function. It has, of course, a connector for the needle positioner and some other options as well. With the auto presser foot lifter and auto reverse functions, it's important to note that the motor has the software and the firmware and the cabling connectors, but it doesn't actually have the individual actuator motors or these air over pneumatic system, pneumatic over electric system that you would need to run this. So that has to be fitted to the machine. Some of those are model specific, so you need to make sure that you have the right system that you can use to connect these functions. Also, there are many adjustable features on the front of the motor. There are over 30 or 40 different parameters that you can select for adjustability, such as the slow speed setup, the high speed setup, the starting speed setup, many other things that are adjustable on this motor, far more than what would be on a lower end motor such as this. So we can adjust over 30 different parameters on this motor, whereas a motor like this would only have maybe 5 or 10 different parameters that could be adjusted. So now I'd like to go over to an actual sewing machine that we have this motor set up on, and I'd like to do a quick demonstration on how this machine is able to perform when it's on a big machine like our Cowboy 4500. So the Cowboy 4500 is one of the heaviest machines that we sell in our lineup. And we have right now a 750SH servo motor connected to this. Now the reason why we chose the 4500 was because of the fact that this is probably one of the heaviest sewing machines that we sell. And if the 750SH servo motor can run a machine like this with no speed reducer unit whatsoever, it's just a direct drive, direct connection from the motor up to the flywheel, then we know, of course, that it would be more than enough motor to run on a common lightweight sewing machine. So now, or medium weight sewing machine. So now I'm going to give you a quick video demo so that you can see how the machine performs. Right now I have my motor RPM set at around 250 RPM, which will make this machine sew at a very slow, manageable speed. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the gas, and you can see how very easily this machine is able to penetrate these two very heavy pieces of leather. And you can see also that the speed is very controllable and very manageable. These two pieces of leather are approximately 12 to 13 ounces thick. It's also a very heavy saddle skirting type leather, tooling leather. And you can see that it goes through it with virtually no effort whatsoever. And again, we are not using a speed reducer unit on this. We're simply direct drive with the motor up to the machine. And you can see how very easily this machine is penetrating those many thick layers of leather. And we do have the needle positioner set up on this machine. It's set to go to the needle down position. So when we let off the gas, the needle goes down to the lowest position. And that would be if you were, for instance, going to make a 90-degree turn or something like that. The machine will self-position so that it puts the needle either in the down position or the up position. So this is a quick demonstration for our 750SH servo motor, one of the finest servo motors that are available on the market today, capable of running at extremely slow rates of speed and delivering bone-crushing horsepower and torque even at the lowest RPM setting. I'm Ryan Neal with the USA offices of Neal Saddlery and Harness, Cowboy Sewing Machines, and High Tech Sewing Machines. If you'd like to get some additional information about this motor or perhaps purchase one, you can reach me at area code 330-692-1418. And I do thank you for your time today.